Welcome to Sub Rosa. And today's question is, my boss, who is very well paid, is getting married in 6 months. We have to be in the office 3 days a week, and her office is next to mine. She spends all day doing wedding planning, all day. We're short-staffed and swamped and could use her help. What can I do?
Yeah. I mean, this is work-life balance kind of stuff. And I'm shocked that I'm about to say this, but I'm not thinking that you want to stand between somebody and their day. And I'm also not thinking that you want to make it a readjustment to say, hey, maybe you should take some time off. And so so we can get somebody else. I think the wise thing is not to touch any of that. You amongst the other employees say, look, she's very busy right now. Presumably this won't last forever. Let's just take care of it ourselves. It's not a permanent deal by any stretch, but I'm not going to interfere in something that I think is above my pay grade. So I'm not fighting that.
Well, and I think there's a couple of assumptions that are here, like the who is very well paid, right? Like what I hear in there is like, why doesn't this woman just hire a wedding planner? Right? They're professionals that she could pay to do this. But I think I have a question attitudinally for this question asker, which is, would it be different if she was arranging care for a sick relative? Right. I mean, she is spending a lot of time doing something that is personal.
Yeah.
Would you have a different attitude if she was arranging her, parents' 50th wedding anniversary party, or if, she was taking care of a pet, right? Yeah. Like there may be things where a woman planning a wedding just sticks in your craw way differently than somebody else doing something else that is equally outside of the work venue. So one, I would just invite the question asker to see if they're bringing any baggage to the table.
You're right.
The second part is if you are indeed short-staffed and swamped, it could use her help. I agree with you, Eugene. There's no way you can go to her and say, hey, if you could, step away from the cake testing and actually do the job.
Yeah, because there's no way that's going to come across well. So
right. Yeah. But I do think if this woman is your supervisor, what you can say is, hey, so I've got these 6 things that need to get done in the next X period of time. I can do 4 of them. Which 4 should I do?
That's beautiful. That's nice.
Right. And just let the boss be the boss. Give her any time you're running into resource issues or you're running into things where don't work extra hours to pick up the slack for her.
Right.
And it's perfectly appropriate for, someone who works for her to go to her and say, help me prioritize this. Is there a way that we could get other resources? She may be able to find other resources. It may not be her, but she may be able to get a temp in or borrow from another department or do, kind of something along those lines. Because I do think, it's interesting to me. I've seen over the years that people, and often it's women, which is interesting to me, that women will get really frustrated at a woman planning her wedding. They'll also get really frustrated with women who are adjusting to coming back from maternity leave, right? Particularly with their first kid. And I think it's interesting, and I'm not like, it's unfortunate, but have you seen that, or is that just unique to my experience?
No, I've seen it.
I mean, what's that about?
I don't know. I wish women were more cohesive as these are your sisterin. I think they could get. I mean, I remember demanding that of my daughters at one point. Like, there's nobody like you on the face of the earth. You guys have to stick together. You cannot, And even when they all took martial arts, and they would say, okay, they pair people up for sparring. I said, you guys are sparring each other. You're working on technique. I don't want to see anybody try to win a sparring match. You work on technique. And then I went to the coaches and go, insofar as possible, never put them with each other. I want them to be a team. And so I wish I saw more of that.
Well, and I think too, a lot of it comes from a scarcity mindset. Like, I have heard from one, which I think is valid. Like, hey, I've worked at this company for a long time. I made a decision not to have children. Where's my 3 months off?
Yeah, but I hate that. There's a Rene Girard, the philosopher, called this the mimetic desire. I was churning out for, let's just call it Mac Life magazine, cover story after cover story for them. Toward the end, my book came out, Fight, and I had some book shows to do, and I was still turning out cover story. But one woman in the office was like, "Why does he get to write from the road?" I mean, this is before working from home or out of the office became a thing, and it fundamentally had them call me back in and say, "Hey, that was Kay. I understand you had a book out, but I need you in the office now. It's causing problems." And I agreed to it, but knowing full well that I had something really massive. I think NPR had called me in or something, and I knew I had to go. So I was like, "Look, I know what I said before. I'm going to go do this thing. I can keep turning out cover stories for you guys as freelance, whatever you want." And so, I ended up leaving Mac Life because it was making one of the staffers unhappy that I was doing cover stories from the road.
Well, and this comes down to this idea, and I hear this, it really comes down to the notion of fairness and who gets to decide what's fair.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people that bring a really immature notion of fairness, which is that everybody has to have the same thing. And I've explained this a million times as a coach and a consultant, and before as a boss, which is, if the idea that like both Eugene and Stephanie are going to get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch, right? If one of us is allergic to peanuts, that's not fair. Right.
Correct.
It's okay for one of us to have something else. And, I'll really put it in these because a lot of times people have these notions of fairness that come from difficult circumstances when they were a kid. Right. Like maybe they felt like they had a sibling who was preferred, or there was some, playground rivalry or whatever. But I would really invite people to try to reframe your narratives around what is fair and what is unfair, and recognize everybody needs different things. Like to the, the woman who might complain about somebody else, a person having a child and being on, parental leave, right? Well, if you have to have surgery and you need medical leave, then you will also be able to take advantage of that. And the parents are not going to be complaining because you got to have medical leave when you had to have, back surgery, right? So let's reframe fairness. Let the woman who's, planning her wedding, plan her wedding and put on earphones so you don't have to listen, and keep writing us with your questions for Sub Rosa, WTF@badbossbrief.com. That's what we got. Thanks. Bye.
Adios.